If you've purchased our kit, you'll receive our printed fabric sheet. My sheets are paper representations as our fabric is being printed as we speak. All our kits include the trims you need for both styles. So fold over elastic for style 1 and narrow elastic for style 2. If you have the kit, you can go ahead and simply cut out the short shapes in your chosen fabric panel. We have a range of specially designed doll fabrics with extra small prints. Your kit also comes with a pattern. You can use this to make more shorts in the future. The pattern has two styles. Style 1 uses fold over elastic and style 2 has a plain elasticated waist. Your pattern has an elastic gauge to give you an idea of how much elastic you'll need. The first stage of any successful sewing project is to gather together everything you need. You'll need a sewing machine or a hand sewing needle, some good quality sewing thread, and a tape measure is also useful when making clothes. Some paper scissors, fabric shears, and also snips for cutting loose ends. I use clips to hold my fabric pieces together rather than pins, and I keep them in my Wabi-Sabi purse. A dissolvable fabric marker and also adhesive seam tape is useful but not essential, and some pattern weights for holding my pattern pieces down. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make both styles. I'll make the elasticated waist version in the Children of the World fabric and the bound elastic waist version in the U-Scoop fabric. The making process is the same for both styles up to finishing the waist. You'll need a fabric piece of 30 centimetres times 13 centimetres. You can fold the fabric in half and cut one pair of shorts pieces. Take your time to place the pattern pieces on the fabric. If you have a printed fabric, then place the print where you want it. Use your pattern to cut the elastic to size. Allow a couple of centimetres either side of the gauge for seam allowance. If you have trouble knowing the difference between the back and front crotch of a pair of trousers, the back crotch is always longer than the front and therefore more scooped out and higher. Here you can see the difference between style 1 and 2. Style 2 has extra allowance at the top so that you can fold down the seam allowance and have the elastic inside a casing. Place the two shorts pieces on the table with the wrong sides upwards. You can neaten the seam edges now if you want to. The seams are designed to be wide enough to take an overlocked or serged edge. I use adhesive seam tape to hold my hems in place while I sew. Or you can press the seam hems into position and then use a straight stitch to secure the hems in place. My hems are stitched in place. Snip off any loose threads. Now place the shorts pieces with their right sides together and stitch the inside leg seams. When stitching these tiny seams, I use a technique I call the U-turn, where I stitch off a small piece of fabric onto my seam. When I reach the end of the seam, I turn the work around and sew back. This avoids dragging these small seams into the feed dogs of the machine. You can find lots of useful tips at wabisabistudio.co.uk. Take a moment to press the inside leg seams towards the back. The inside leg can be neatened at this point. Now turn one of the leg pieces to the right side. Leave the other one with the wrong side showing. Place one leg piece inside the other so that the right sides are together, matching the back crotch of one piece to the back crotch of the other piece. The inside leg seam should match and the centre front should also match. Finishing the waistline. Up to now, the sewing method for each style has been the same, but this is where the sewing method for each style differs. If you're using fold over elastic, you need to leave a small gap at the centre back. If you're using regular elastic and inserting the elastic into the waist casing, you can sew the whole crotch seam. I use a fabric marking pen to remind me when I'm making the fold over elastic waist. I place a mark at the notch at the centre back where I need to start my stitching from. You can find the notch on the pattern piece. Turn through the shorts and check the seams are all sewn perfectly. It's now worth taking a moment to check your elastic fits the wearer. Nico likes a looser fit at the waist. Pass the elastic round the waist and make 2 marks at the point where the elastic feels comfortable. Also make a mark at the centre of these 2 points. Style 2 elastic will need to be secured to form a round. This may be a little difficult by machine, so it may be something you'd like to do by hand. The seam allowance at the top of the shorts will be folded over to encase the elastic in the seam. You can neaten the waist edge first if you choose. Place the elastic to the waist of the shorts and fold the seam allowance down for the elastic casing. Stitch from the centre back to the centre back, enclosing the elastic in the folded down seam allowance. Make sure you don't catch the elastic in the stitching. There's no need to pin or hold the elastic all the way around, as the elastic will need to be stretched as you sew. Give the waist a gentle pull to distribute the gathers evenly around the waist. Fold over elastic will be used to bind the waist of style 1 and cover the raw edge. There are a number of ways to attach fold over elastic binding. Take a look at Wabi-Sabi Studio for a link to a detailed video of the process. I choose to apply my binding in one step with a zigzag stitch. However, it can be done in 2 steps and the video will show you how. Start at the centre back of the shorts where you left your small opening and overlap the fold over elastic over the seam edge. The mark you made for the start of the elastic should be at the centre back. There's no need to pin the elastic to the waist, as you will need to stretch it as you sew. You'll need to set your machine, if you're using one, to a zigzag stitch. If you're sewing by hand, then mimic the zigzag by hand. You need this stitch to be able to stretch when dressing your doll. Here I stopped halfway around the waist to show you how the elastic is applied to the raw edge of the seam. Continue to apply the elastic to the whole waistline. Leave the few extra centimetres you allowed at each end attached for now. They're useful for holding when you sew up the back crotch seam. Now you can sew up the gap you left open, making sure you match evenly the top edges of the fold over elastic. Trim any loose threads and trim off the little handles you left. Turn the shorts through to the right side. And they're complete. You'll notice that the waist of style 2 is lower than style 1 as we've used the elastic casing to put the elastic in. Give your shorts a gentle press. Now comes the exciting part, trying our shorts on Nico. I think I would have preferred the elastic a little bit tighter in this pair. But these fit Nico beautifully. If you've enjoyed making your shorts project, we have lots more exciting projects for you to try over at wabisabilife.co.uk or find us on Etsy.